How about the height thing? We haven't talked about the height thing so far. So, especially, I'm not sure in particular, but maybe it's more of an East Asian stereotype that
Mhm.
Asians are small. If you're Chinese, Korean, Japanese, you might be small and so on. What are your perspectives on the height thing? Does it matter? What can you do about it? And so on.
Yeah,
I
I'll
mean, I'm
talk this.
5'4".
I've got to like
Like
roll out.
I'm
Sorry.
probably the shortest one here.
Oh,
Sorry,
wait.
JT,
I'm
go
about to
ahead.
say
Let's
I got to roll out in like 5 minutes. Sorry, Justin.
Sure. No, you're
I
good.
don't know. Sorry, like I'm 5'5", so I'm definitely on the short side, and especially in the West where there is a very strong height preference. I always tell my students like you have to have a command presence, like the way you approach in whatever manner, indirect, direct style, how you come up should typically be like significantly more dominant than say you're normally comfortable with, just to kind of counteract whatever perceptions, whether it's stereotype or like a height preference. Like I love like tall queens. The taller the better for me. Like it's just something that I enjoy. But it does come down to if you are a short guy, while there are certain things you can like, quote unquote, like height max and looks max and sexual market value, it all comes down to like, can you bring a command presence? This is typically why I like direct game, but any kind of style of game can work so long as you bring a presence, a personality, a charisma, a charm about yourself that overcomes any sort of like unconscious bias that she might have. Now, there will still be women that will always prefer a tall guy, regardless, right? But there are ways to at least from your personality give the perception, the feeling, if you will, that you are larger than life. So yeah, sorry guys. Appreciate being on the panel. Thank you so much to Ice White. Thanks to all the other great coaches on here. But I've got to head out and teach another workshop. Yeah, keep up the good work and check out all the great videos that Ice has on his YouTube. Later,
Thanks for
guys.
coming.
Okay, see you, bro.
Good to have you here.
Yeah, so back to talking about the height stuff, right? I mean, I'm 5'4". I'm pretty much most women I meet taller than me. My girlfriend's taller than me. Side chick's taller than me. They're all taller than me, and I don't think it really even matters. I think really what matters the most is how you make a woman feel, right? And there's so many other attraction triggers that are so much more greater than height, right? So if you didn't have game, you don't have a character development, you haven't actually worked on yourself, you haven't worked on other areas of your life, you haven't worked on your fitness, you haven't worked on your personality, right? And if height is all that you have or don't have, then sure, it matters to a certain degree. But if you have all these other things going for you, then it's such a small status indicator that it doesn't really matter, right? So back to what JT was saying, if you have this commanding presence, uh, amazing personality, and you bring a bunch of other characteristics and attributes to the table, I mean, women aren't walking around thinking, "Oh, I need a guy to be this tall." Maybe a certain percentage of women are thinking like that, but it's such a small minority group of women that are actually thinking like that. Most women don't really even think of that, right? Most women who are looking for a partner, boyfriend, husband, whatever, they just want a man that they are compatible with, that they can love, right? And that they can have a connection with. So, you're not going to get disqualified for being short if you have all these other high value characteristics and traits that women find attractive, right? But if all you have is your height and your looks and you're a short guy, then maybe you'll get disqualified because of your height, or maybe that's just what the girl's telling you, right? But it's really because your lack of charisma.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say like when it comes to sometimes it can happen, the height thing can play factor, but if something like this happen, then you will be on the right on the face, you will see the rejection. If but I see is like that if somebody is short, then there are some he can play to disadvantage. For example, in the technical game, the escalation he can get away with more escalation because the girl will be less intimidated by him, so he can get away with more escalation. When he is pulling the girl, then it will be easier, slightly easier for him because the girl will be less likely to get like intimidated. Oh, this small guy is like taking me. I don't know what's going to happen, compared to a, like, black guys pulling the girl. So in that way, I can say, like, if somebody is like focusing on that part, of course, like Justin is saying, charisma and all the stuff he has to also work on. But in the technical game, these are the things play a big role when you're taking the girl home. uh, if the girl is like giving you less resistance, she come with you, open the bottle of wine, and then she will forget about your height anyway. At that time, you escalate the girl, the girl will be not really getting that much intimidating. But when you are escalating, she's getting aroused, and that you can use it to your advantage, something like that. So I will say, like, whatever the disadvantage you have, use it as advantage, simple as that. Because height is something now, just crying about height, and like, it's not making any sense. So we have to think positively.
Yes, sir.
You can you want to go? I'll go last on this.
Okay, I'll go real quick. So yeah, I totally agree with everyone else who mentioned, the height isn't such a big deal unless, you don't have any other attributes. But one thing I do want to mention is that I always tell people, what would you do differently if you were your dream height? Like, let's say 6 foot, right? And they would say, yeah, I would approach that girl, talk to that girl at the gym. I would dress better. I would work out more, probably get a better job. And then I was asking them, why aren't you doing these things right now? Just because you're not 6 foot tall doesn't, these things make you a lot better if you were doing those things. So it's a lot of it. They feel like even though they're not tall enough, they can't do other things as well now. They have a handicap on these other aspects of life, which isn't true. And once you're able to accept your height and like Deepak said, use it as your advantage, because there's a lot of advantage being a shorter guy. Like a lot of girls like shorter guys. And one of my best friends is Indian. He's 5'2". He's probably like the most charismatic person ever. Every time we go out, all the girls talk to him. So there's nothing wrong with being a little shorter than most people.
Sounds like you're describing Justin.
It's funny. I've actually lost clients because I'm 6 feet tall. I think some of the clients don't relate to me, but I would say, look, if you're on the shorter end, it is harder. You're gonna have to work hard at the end of the day. I mean, all the guys that are getting results, you can tell they maxed out on the other areas of their life, right? So I think in general, common knowledge, dating truths are common knowledge, right? So you're gonna have to work harder, but the good thing is, like everybody says, different girls have different parameters for different attributes, right? Gold diggers have a higher parameter for money. Some girls have a higher requirement for height. Some girls have a higher, they value comedy more, right? So I think it's just thinking about a variable that you can't change is just a waste of energy, right? So at the end of the day, also a lot of these guys that worry about height, it's like, okay, how many girls you approach this week? Okay, you approached 1, 0. Okay, well, you could easily approach 100 girls this week. So is height going to give you 10,000% advantage? No. And also, like, I've had a lot of guys that are 6'2", 6'3" that are terrible with dating. Even for me, before I got into sort of this whole journey, when I was 28, 27, I've only been with 2 girls, right? And I was still the same height. So a lot of guys that are short think that, oh, height will automatically get you girls. But to be honest, you could go to China, get that lengthening surgery, and you still got to work on your game. So I think it's just goes back to I did a chart actually, because every student that applies for my boot camp, I ask them about their height and their leg count. And so I had a linear, this video I'll send you later. I did a linear regression on like leg count by height. It's very insignificant. It's like 0.6 per inch or something. Like it's negligible. It's like 0.6 lays per inch of height. Like if you take an average of like the 1,000 data, it's so small. So, but I think, like I said, yeah, even if you had a disadvantage, you could either solve that just by talking to 10 more girls a week, right? So, people talk about, oh, well, we lost 20% here and there, but you can boost your odds by just 10xing your, just the amount of inbounds or the amount of interactions you're making per week. So, yeah.
I love the fact that you made to see if there's a correlation between height.
So my background's chemical engineering. All I did was like analysis of variance and statistical reports. So like I'm a huge nerd when it comes to math. So
Fuck yeah. Well, you're Asian. I just
Sure.
had to.
we're all good at math.
That's
That's smart.
racist.
Yeah, damn it.